Welcome to The Chemical Show, the podcast where chemical means business. I'm your host, Victoria Meyer, bringing you stories and insights from leaders driving innovation and growth across the chemical industry. Each week, we explore key trends, real-world challenges, and the strategies that make an impact. Let's get started. Welcome back to The Chemical Show, where leaders talk business. Today's episode is focusing on insights and highlights from the Chemical Summit 2025. So just 2 weeks ago, on September 30th and October 1st, chemical leaders gathered in Houston for the Chemical Summit. 2 powerful days of panels and speakers, lots of audience engagement, networking, connection building, and building insights that these leaders are taking back to their companies to influence strategy, culture, and direction over the next year. Today, I'm sharing some of the key themes, plus some clips from speakers from this year's Chemical Summit. And I'm just going to say there was so much energy and engagement and enthusiasm in the room for these topics and more. And the buzz is palpable because one of the things that happens at the Chemical Summit, it's not just what people are saying on stage, it's also what the audience is talking about. And they are talking and engaging with each other over all of these big topics that you're probably working on in your company as well. So I'm bringing you some insights today and hope that it's valuable to you. So to sum it all up, if you take one statement away from what the overall theme and the reflection of the Chemical Summit is that people and culture are the backbone of transformation in an AI-enabled world. That's it. Is that new and novel? No, because people and culture have always been the backbone of transformation, but it's the way in which we're manifesting it today. So we covered a lot of topics at the Chemical Summit, everything from business transformation to startups, supply chain, talent, pricing psychology and customer value, the business of sustainability, digitization and AI, global economics and geopolitics. So a lot. 2 days, action-packed with all the topics that a leader needs to know as they are going about influencing strategy, influencing business direction, and leading their companies. The underpinning theme throughout every conversation virtually was about AI. And the reality is AI is influencing everything. You guys aren't surprised by that. You kind of maybe have to be living under a rock if you are not aware about how AI influenced our world is on a personal level and on a business level. At the same time, people are still grappling, companies are still grappling with what does that mean for me? How do I do this? How do I make this work for my company? And we're going to talk about that more. So recognizing we are in an AI-enabled world, we are going through some tough times across much of the industry, good times in other places. It's definitely a mix, but we're going to be talking about that today. 3 big themes that I'm going to bucket these insights in. The first is people and culture. The second is business agility and alignment. And the third theme is technology as a transformation engine. So I'm going to start with people. So much conversation about the importance of people and culture. Your people, your business, your stakeholders, they all want to matter. They want to succeed, they want to contribute to a strong business and a culture that drives success and longevity. The first keynote speaker of day 1 of the Chemical Summit following me was Todd Nelmark, who is the CEO of Verdant Specialty Solutions. And Todd talked about transformation and the transformation journey that he has seen in companies throughout his career and that he is currently leading Verdant on. And this whole piece that he really stressed was transformation is about alignment and it's about people. And one of the things he specifically said is purpose is why we exist. Strategy is where we play and how we win. And culture is how we behave when no one's watching. So I'm going to introduce a clip from Todd here so that you can hear from him directly. The other piece around this that Todd really emphasized as part of the playbook for transformation is getting the right people on the bus, getting people in the right seats on the bus, and being able to act quickly when change is needed. So getting the right culture, getting the right people in the right places, to use that as a way of driving your business and your business transformation.
If there's one lesson I learned from the lab bench, the control room, and the boardroom, it's this. Purpose, strategy, and culture are the same decision made 3 ways. They only move at pace when the right people are in the right seats and they communicate effectively. When you know why you exist, you'll know where to play. When you know where to play, you'll know how to behave. Behave that way long enough, and performance tells the story for you. The music of a healthy company isn't an accident. It's a choice you make every day on the plant floor, in the R&D lab, in the boardroom, where the customer who needs you to be a little better, a little faster, a little more dependable. Make these choices with purpose, anchor them in strategy, and protect them with culture. Power them with people, and you'll build something that lasts.
Milan Taylor from Mercer brought data. He brought a lot of data in about people and culture and talent in the chemical industry. Mercer is a premier people strategy, risk management consulting organization. They work with companies all across the world. Milan specifically focused his insights around surveys that they've done in extracting data around the chemical industry and chemical industry participants. So super interesting facts. Here's a few factoids for you. First of all, chemical employees have high levels of engagement and job satisfaction. Like 71% of chemical employees say that they are very satisfied or very satisfied and engaged in their jobs. Great. Awesome. Super. Wonderful to hear. However, over 60% say that they are worried about their health, both physical and mental. So you could think, is this a function of workplace safety? I think we've gone a long way with that. So the dialogue was actually, maybe it's a little bit less than that. It's a bit about the aging workforce, which on a general basis across the industry, we've got an aging workforce, but also just the change and the stress. And there's a lot of stuff going on with everybody's companies right now. You guys know that. So 60% worried about their health, 50% actively looking for a new job. So you're like, hang tight. 71% said that they are highly satisfied with their jobs, and yet 50% are actively looking. I don't know. You know what? Maybe somebody can respond, because we had some speculation about why that was. Is it a demographic shift? Is it the fact that the industry is going through such a major transformation? I don't know. But it's also around this fact of we need to continue to upskill our workforce, right? The work that we do every day is changing. Whether you're in the office, whether you're working in manufacturing, whether you're out in logistics, helping move product around, the work is changing. And one of the things that's changing work, and again, we talked about AI being an underpinning theme throughout the conference, is the need to both upskill and communicate while doing so. And this was an interesting factoid. So, again, people are a bit uncertain, right? They're a little stressed out about their roles. While they're very satisfied, they're also a little stressed out. And something like 1/3 of employees that were on this Mercer survey reported that no one in their organization has spoken to them about the impact of AI on their job. Surprising. Again, a lot of dialogue. Why would that be? Well, maybe because we haven't figured it all out. We're still in this experimentation phase of AI. Yes, but if you have one takeaway, go talk to your team members about how are you using AI? What does it mean for your job? And I think the collective conversation was that AI is not taking away jobs. It is changing the way we work. It's enhancing the way we work. Maybe we're working on different things because we're using AI to do other things, but people are still critical in our industry, in the roles that we have, to your culture. So that's another tidbit.
So I think that adoption curve of what technology looks like as you transform is critical. But if we go back and a third of employees have not heard from leaders, from anybody in their organization about what this does, speaks to that level of anxiety and that challenge. 2 in 3 employees tell us that they trust all of you, that if their job goes because of AI, you will find them another one. Now, I'm not so sure that in the current economic climate, you will do that. And I have no data to evidence that, but I suspect the compelling call of improving the profit line is going to be the ascendant factor in that decision. But 2 in 3 of your employees trust you that you will reskill them or find them another job. 31% of employees, we've talked a bit about this, are reluctant to try any new technology in the workplace. And I think that's something you're going to have to really work with your chief technology officers and your HR leaders to get over. So I think the next frontier as you bring all this together is trying to figure out, what does AI actually mean in a work environment? What does it mean for your employees? How do you redesign work? Because I think at the end of the day, putting in AI into your organizations is not about technology. It's about trust. You can implement technology pretty well in the industry. This is all about, what does the future workforce look like? And you need, I think, to think about how you develop your organizational structure. So
finally, in this people and culture space, we had a panel on talent that included people from across the industry representing different levels and different participants in the industry, manufacturing and people working on the shop floor, executive leadership, et cetera. And one of the things that we really talked about that stood out to me in particular, and it stood out to others, is the importance of being deliberate with your culture, right? So culture is going to happen, but being very deliberate in your culture is critical. And in fact, we talked a little bit about this in the context of M&A, and we've got a lot of changes in the industry, right? Companies buying and selling, people moving companies, maybe there's some M&A work and combinations. Bringing the culture conversation earlier is critical. And being very specific about what your culture is and naming your culture. So the Chemical Show way, the Olin culture. Kelly Sodier from Olin was one of our executives that was on the panel. The Verdant culture, your company's culture. Point to what it is, who you are. It's part of your identity. What is your culture? I think if we look across not just the chemical industry, other industries, every company has a culture, some of whom you can point to and you're like, oh yeah, I see that. I see that all wrapped up in how you approach things, how you talk about things, how you do business. What's your company culture? What is the culture that you want to be able to succeed and thrive as we go through these industry transformations? Culture is everyone's responsibility, and people is everyone's responsibility. So we need to kind of embrace that vernacular, because clearly as we continue to go into this next decade of chemical industry, we're going through a transformation right now, right? Arguably the longest down cycle we've seen in decades. Cultural shifts are happening. Business transformation is happening, and getting people to embrace it and recognize it is critical. Theme number 2 that came through of those 2 days of the Chemical Summit: business agility, alignment, and collaboration, right? So I've talked about this recently, about where we are as an industry and what is critical to success here in Q4 as we go into 2026 and beyond. And it's around strategic discipline, aligned processes, and fundamentally collaboration. So I'm grouping in some comments from 3 different panels. One was the supply chain panel, and just how we're harnessing supply chain resilience to drive business in the future. And Abdul Salam Hagar from Clariant was one of our panelists. Brilliant guy. So he talked about just the importance of supply chain. Companies started to understand that supply chain is not just about execution. Supply chain needs to be integrated from the get-go of your business and your long-term strategic planning, right? So again, this gets to not just execution, but also alignment and collaboration. We also talked about the fact so much of supply chain is influenced by technology, right? And the technology and digital tools that are available today for visibility, for planning, for integration across partners are not optional. They're necessary. They're necessary. They're a standard state of business. This provides alignment. It's around getting strategic discipline and ensuring business agility.
I think what is becoming really important is, I think you usually really focus on the customer, right? We want to deliver our goods on time and we want to have the right stockpiles for our customers so we can also execute our production on time and deliver. What becomes more and more important is that we actually also look backward, right? That we, from an integrated perspective, involve our procurement departments, involve our logistics departments, and make sure that we really monitor, first of all, the developments in the market, right? Especially now with, not just geopolitically, but also regarding tariffs, but really start monitoring and holding also our suppliers accountable, right? I think this is becoming more and more becoming more and more at the forefront, and digitization actually helps a lot there. So instead of your classic communication patterns that you have, there are so many technologies out there, some more advanced than others, to integrate with your suppliers directly.
Right. When we talked about the business case for sustainability, you guys have seen, I've seen a lot of announcements of these big projects that are getting delayed. And yet, are people still working on sustainability? Oh, yeah. And we talked a lot about that and ensuring that there's an ROI for sustainability. Sean Steffen from OxyChem talked about how the engineers, their plants, their manufacturing people are submitting all kinds of projects, all of which are efficiency gains and all of which are sustainability gains. These are the fundamentals to the business case for sustainability. Again, back to strategic discipline, business agility, responding where it's needed, and aligning.
I'm a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, okay? The old school. And so our job was to go in and save money. So we were reducing gas, energy, defects, waste, everything a long time ago. Re-engineering things to make them work better, more efficient. That's something that was natural. And that's why it was easy for me to come into this space. And so everything that we do, so when you have engineers submitting projects that are like switching out fan blades, automation, variable speed drives, saving water, tower automation software, all this stuff. Yeah. It all comes with less chemicals, save money. It drives the carbon down. So now I have a low carbon product that costs less to make.
And then the third piece on this topic was really around customer value. And how customer value is inherently deeply cross-functional. So we had a speaker on pricing psychology actually, and we had a panel on customer value and how do we move beyond price? How do we create better prices? How do we create better value for our customers? Really the panel, which included leaders from ExxonMobil, Sasol, and Simon Kucher, they emphasize that value creation isn't just the job of sales. This is not just one or two people's job to make sure that you've articulated value, that you've created value, that you're getting the best price, that you're securing the best deals and contracts for your business. It exists at every organizational layer, whether it's supply chain, commercial, R&D, your operations. Everybody's got a piece of this. Collaboration is critical to creating maximum value appropriately. I mean, I'm going to say appropriate maximum value because you don't always want to create maximum value. I might delete all this. I delete some of it. So collaboration is key for creating customer value, the right level of customer value for your customers.
In order to grow, the first thing it starts with is you have to have an opportunity set that is significant and valuable. And so how do you get an opportunity set in today's environment that that meets that criteria. For me, the most important capability is the ability to collaborate with third parties. You have to be able to work with customers, suppliers, consultants, others in the industry to come up with the best ideas. Because the brutal truth is none of our organizations has all of the best ideas. We all have a lot of good ideas, but there's more good ideas outside of our organization than inside. So if we can bring multiple parties together to collaborate, to develop that opportunity set, then the systems, the processes, the people, the technology has something to target.
Our third theme that came through again, I already told you, AI and digitization were ongoing topics through every part of the conference. And this is that technology is the transformation engine, right? So if we think about where we are today in 2025 and where we want to be in 2030 or 2035 or heck, even in 2026, technology is the engine. And in fact, Halan Kaplan from Node, there's a quote from him, it's AI is like an internal combustion engine. It's not the result. It's what powers everything. And I think that is just brilliant because, we've gone through this phase. Maybe you're still in this phase wondering like, oh, what about AI? How is AI doing? Is AI taking my job? Is it not taking my job? It's not. It's an engine. It's a tool. We absolutely need to harness it. But we, the people, need to harness it. And in fact, Milan Taylor, I'm going back to Milan, he had so many great nuggets in his speech about talent. He talked about it's not about the technology, it's about the trust. You can implement technology pretty well in the industry. Maybe you feel like you're behind, maybe you feel like you're ahead, but it's about the trust in your workforce, the training in your workforce to how to monetize and how to use this technology effectively. I think this whole aspect of fostering a culture of risk-taking, big conversations about the fact that technology is moving so quickly. We have to experiment. We have to take risks. We have to try things and say, yeah, that was great. Not going to work again. And in fact, Charlie Lowry, who was the moderator on the digitization panel, he talked about technology experimentation a little bit like we experiment in the lab, right? So we try formulations, we do experiments, we're creating new molecules. They are not right the first time. We go through dozens of experiments, dozens of combinations to get to the right solution. Technology is a little bit the same way. We're in a period where it is rapidly advancing. You need to give yourself room to experiment, to figure out what works, what doesn't work for your company, your organization, and the tools themselves and the technologies themselves are changing immediately. Shabnam Najan from Evonik, who is on our digitization panel, she talked about digital transformation. It's not about technology. So again, even though we said technology is a transformation engine, it is. But digital transformation, it's about making things better and being business first, technology second, and then the people. It's like this three things that go together that I've already talked about: people and culture, technology, and business agility and execution. So critical to success and transformation.
Jimmy, you mentioned yesterday a lot of chemical industry is a very regulated market. Yes, that's true. I always say regulation is a double-edged sword. But the regulations such as REACH, TSCA, GHS, that needs the AI to be adaptable, auditable, traceable, aligned with lots of governance rule, and that will slow down the process. But at the same time, the good part is you can trust the data, you can get a high quality data. And then the last one, which I think the most important one, we heard it all yesterday, we heard it all today, is about culture, is about people. Yep. Implementing new technology is easy. You can implement as many technology as you want, but if you don't have the people that they don't believe in technology, or more importantly, they drive this technology, the technology will fail. So I would say the chemical is making a great change. They put digitalization as part of their strategy. They are empowering the people, but it is still a very uneven journey.
All right, that is a highlight of the themes coming out of 2 great days of conversations, speakers, panels, and attendees at the Chemical Summit. People and culture are the backbone of transformation in an AI-enabled world. All three are needed to work together, right? People and culture, business agility and alignment, which you can also translate to strategy, process, and collaboration, and then technology as the transformation engine. And it's an engine, it's not the result. It is helping us get where we need to go. So that's it for today. Lots of great conversations and insights. If you have any questions, reach out and let me know. And if you're feeling some FOMO, like, oh, I should have been there. Yes, you should have been there. Be there next year. We're working on finalizing our dates. The Chemical Summit will be happening again in fall of 2026. And in the meantime, if you are looking for ongoing engagement, thought leadership with peers across the chemical industry, stay tuned for the Chemical Executive Mastermind. In fact, you can join the waitlist. I will include the link in the show notes so you can head straight there. And that is where leaders connect and meet together over the course of a year to talk about key topics that are affecting the industry, get some connection and insight from peers, and fundamentally grow their leadership for themselves and their businesses. So that's it today for the Chemical Show. Thank you for joining us today. Keep listening, keep following, keep sharing, and we will talk with you again soon. Thanks for joining us today on the Chemical Show. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and most importantly, share it with your friends and colleagues. For more insights, visit thechemicalshow.com and connect with us on LinkedIn. You can find me at Victoria Meyer on LinkedIn, and you can also find us at The Chemical Show Podcast. Join us next time for more conversations and strategies shaping the future of the industry. We'll see you soon.